Hey everyone, it's Robert Fisher with the RJF Team with Keller Williams Realty. Today I want to talk about two questions. One, do I even need a real estate agent, or why do I need a real estate agent? And the second one is, are the way that real estate agents get paid in the best interest of the consumer? I love these questions. I love these questions from a real estate agent standpoint. I love them even more so from the consumer standpoint. So the whole purpose of asking these is, in the long run, what is in the best interest of the consumer? And if we figure that problem out, I think everything else takes care of itself. And I honestly believe that. And by the way, sometimes I'm the real estate agent, but when I'm in a different city that we don't represent, I am the consumer, and I'm the one that's looking to hire an agent and what that looks like. And so I'm trying to look at this from all angles, just so you know. So my first question is, why do I need to hire a real estate agent? Why do I need to hire a realtor? Let me ask it in reverse. Why would someone not want to hire a real estate agent? And to me, I kind of broke it down into three categories. The first two categories I would say are normal, and I think we can address and go through. The third category is what scares me a little bit, to be honest. And so I really want to go through this because I think we really need to see the big picture. The first category, very easy, is that number one, I had a bad experience with a real estate agent. And if that's you, and if you ever had a bad experience, I'm sorry. I've been there. I've had a bad experience as well. I've also had a bad experience with a doctor, with a lawyer, with a CPA, and I think that just happens sometimes, And when you have a bad experience, I don't think, for me anyways, I don't look at that and say, gosh, I think we should get rid of all doctors because I had a bad doctor. I think the bad apples need to get out. I think some people need to be coached up, and then making sure that you're holding to your professional standards, which is a really big deal, and making sure those standards are what is in the best interest of the consumer. So that's the first one. The second one kind of ties into a little bit as well, but it's cost. And people will ask, well, is it worth it for me to hire them, and what does that look like? And I think that's a fair question. And I think it ties into the first one in the sense of, to me, cost equals value in this situation. And so people are going to look at this and say, well, I had a bad experience. I don't think they were worth it, right? That the value wasn't there. But I can tell you, those who have hired a great CPA, a great lawyer, a great real estate agent, a great doctor, they are worth far more than what they charge. The good ones, right? And so, and they help you make long-term, consistent decisions in what you're doing that help you live, your best life and whatever you're looking for, whether that's real estate, health, or whatever that is. And so that's one part of the cost. The other part of the cost I'll talk about here in a little bit because it does matter. And the good news is there's flexibility for the consumer on what that looks like. But I do think who you hire matters, and we'll talk about that here in a sec. The third reason why someone would not want a real estate agent, this is the category I guess scares me. Because, I think a lot of times that's control. A lot of times they don't want the consumer to have a fiduciary. A fiduciary is someone that is standing in your corner, going to tell you the truth and help champion you to make sure the best thing that happens for your family happens. Sometimes that's buying, sometimes that's not buying. Sometimes that's selling, sometimes that's not selling. But having someone there for you. Think about some of these publicly traded companies. They're not bad. Their mission is just to make sure that they're pleasing the shareholders, and whether that's, most of the time that's profit, could be market share, whatever it is at the time. And when they look at the big picture, the more information, the more right information that you have, the less they get what they want, because they have to turn a profit for their shareholders. And so if all of a sudden we play this game and we say, imagine all the real estate agents are gone, and we're going to go to some of these publicly traded companies, we're going to let these 2 or 3 companies hold all the information because they're offering us convenience and some of these other things, which actually real estate agents can do as well, but that's what they're offering. And just think about what that looks like. There's 3 ways they can give you information. They can give you no information because they now hold it. Probably even more scary, they can give you selective information, like, hey, we're just going to give you this. Or we can give you so much information that you're confused. And right now, there's so much online. The funny thing is, more and more people are using real estate agents because they look online, they say, well, gosh, my home here is worth $900K, and then I go look at this site, it's worth $600K. And then a real estate agent comes over my house and say, no, it's actually worth 1.1 if you do these things. So think about this. Think about you're selling your house. There's no more real estate agents out there. This big company comes over to you and says, we're buying your house and your house is worth this. First of all, that's just wrong. Someone who's buying your house is telling you the value of your house. That to me is scary alone. Then they say, well, we're going to charge you this. This is what you'd normally pay anyways, and sometimes those fees are even higher. And oh, by the way, not only is that there, but we're only going to pay you this because we got to make some money too. And so you look at that, and what they sell here is convenience. Well, that's convenient. Maybe that's $100K, maybe it's a little bit less, maybe it's more, who knows? But what you don't know as a consumer is if a realtor would have come over, they would have said, but this is not what your home is worth. It's worth this. And oh, by the way, and we just had this happen. We had a seller that they were going to sell their home. They thought their home was worth about $1 million. We told them how they could put a little bit of money in the property, and this is how you can get an extra $200,000 or $300,000 for your property. Why? Because this is what's happening right now in the real estate market. Like this is what's desired, this is what's needed, and as compared to the price of the home, it was not a lot of money, and it sure did work out for them. But do you think a publicly traded buyer on your house is going to come in and say, if you do these things, we're going to pay you $200,000 more? Absolutely not. And they're controlling all that, and that's scary to me. Like, to take a fiduciary, to take someone that's in the consumer's corner and take them out just because there's been bad apples or whatever, or what these people are trying to sell, like that is a scary place to be for the consumer. And for me buying real estate as a consumer, that's the last thing I want. Also think about this. So the next question is, are real estate agents paid in a way that's in the best interest of the consumer? And this is all about the consumer, but just for a couple minutes, I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a real estate agent or a realtor, right? And think about their day-to-day job and what that looks like. We have people all the time that come in from out of state and they're like, hey, we want to go to the Austin area, we want to go to Round Rock, Cedar Park, and they're coming out here and they're saying, hey, we need some help. And we need you to drive us around, show us homes. We don't know if we're going to buy out here or not. We don't know if we're going to relocate. So we show them for 2 weeks, and they get to kind of get the lay of the land, and they get the insight of what's going on here locally. Now, they didn't have to do that. They could have just looked online, and they did look online, but they also needed to see it in person because it's different. Another person. We've been helping a buyer for over 2 years, and we're showing them homes, not showing them homes, showing them homes, not showing them homes. At the end of that 2 years, they decided not to buy, right? I mean, and then I would say probably dozens of sellers a year will call us because they know they can trust us, and they'll say, what is our home really worth, and what can we do to increase the value? Robert, we don't know if we're going to sell now, if we're going to sell later, what that looks like, but we really need to know because it tells us it's worth this online and whatever, and we'll go in and we'll give them all this information. So when you look at that, what those three different scenarios have in common is the real estate agent, assuming they're getting paid on commission, that's probably the most common, just being paid a commission, they didn't get paid on any of those. Can you imagine as a W-2 employee going into work for 3 months, and at the end of the 3 months, the employer goes, we're not going to pay you, right? And that's important because here's what I think happens if realtors were to ever switch, or real estate agents were to ever switch to more like an attorney where there's a retainer and things going on, is that the consumer ultimately is going to pull back and say, well, I kind of see this information online. I'm not going to put a retainer down. I'm not going to pay an hourly fee. That doesn't make sense. And even if a certain percentage of them pull back, now they're making less good decisions. Your average homeowner will buy a home or sell a home 4 to 8 times in their lifetime. That's every 7 to 10 years. Every 7 to 10 years. If you want to master something, you need 10,000 hours of work to master something on it. A normal homeowner and home seller, they're never going to master it in their lifetime. And so if you were to think about that, and they were to come in and just every 7 or 10 years sell or buy a house, how many mistakes do you have to make in order to make up for your entire real estate sales lifetime? Does that make sense? 20% of the time? 30% of the time? How many $100,000 mistakes do you have to make before you would have made up with that by having someone that you know and trust? And oh, by the way, they did take away at least some of the headache and gave you good sound advice. My personal real estate strategy, my personal strategy is I would like to make, I think if I can be consistent in my decision making over the longest period of time, that'll give me the best results, right? And so people just sometimes will look like, well, gosh, this one might have seemed easier, but this one seemed a little bit harder. Did I need one here versus there? What if you make the smart, consistent decision every single time? That's what I want in my financial advisor. That's what I want in my CPA. That's definitely what I want as a real estate agent as well. That's why I think that's in the best interest of the consumer. Here's the other thing why I think it's in the best interest of the consumer. The consumer in our world, in the real estate world, has options. If you want to go buy or sell a house yourself, you can. I don't recommend it. I think that's a scary place to be, to not have the help and the guidance. And even if you're buying a $400,000 or $500,000 house, like how many times do you want to make a mistake on that? But you can do that yourself. So the consumer has the control there. The consumer can say, you know what? I want to hire a discount person. This is what it is. And they can go in and do that. The consumer can also look up and say, you know what? I want to hire the best. I want to hire someone I can trust. And here's what that looks like. And you have the choice. And so right now in our world, I believe the consumer has all these options available to us. And we get to make the best decision as a consumer on what fits our personality. When I'm the consumer, personally, this is what I like to do. I personally like to choose, again, someone that's the best in their profession and someone I can trust. Because I look at it so many different ways. But normally what happens is the money I save with someone else is not the same money I would have gained by having one of the best in the area. If I were going to go to court for a $500,000 lawsuit, my personal strategy is who's the cheapest attorney that I could find? Or could I find someone that says this is their best track record and they will only get paid if they accomplish my goal? I mean, which one sounds better in theory? So, and then to me, it's like you're buying a Snickers bar. When you're buying a Snickers bar here for $1 versus over here for $1.10, it's a no-brainer. You choose the dollar Snicker bar, right? You're buying the same product. In real estate, in the CPA world, in the financial planning world, doctors, all that kind of stuff, you're not buying a Snickers bar. You're buying a service, right? And in the real estate world, I look at this as you are buying someone that's going to market for you, someone that's going to negotiate for you, someone that's going to tell the truth, someone that's going to support you no matter what you decide to do, someone who has back-end systems that maybe work with them or without them, because even if something were to happen while something's going on during your purchase time, like it's still going to happen with or without them. Like when you put that whole picture together, to me, this is what helps you make long-term consistent decisions. And so when I just tie this in together of why do I have to have a real estate agent? Why do I need a real estate agent? The real estate agent in most every state in the United States, they have to be, in order to keep their license, they have to be a fiduciary to their clients. And good real estate agents, good realtors, that is exactly what they do. They have high integrity, they're advising you, and they support you no matter what you decide to do. So for that reason, you definitely want that, and that's going to help you make consistent decisions. And in my opinion, the way that they're paid allows us to gather more information and make good long-term decisions, and they're only paid on the results when you're ready to go. And a good realtor will look at everything, and a good real estate agent will look at everything and say, my reputation matters. I'm going to take care of these people whether they buy or sell or not. Because even if they don't, if I take care of them, they're going to refer me to their friends and family. And I'm in this for the long run, and that's what you need. Someone that's in it for the long run, wants to do the right thing, someone that's hungry, wants to go after it, and they're amazing in their field. So I hope this was helpful. We love you guys. If you have any questions or anything else, let us know.